Let's move on to the next person now. Remember, Frode just mentioned the hydrogen value chain that they're developing with Germany. Well, on the other side of that agreement sits the head of dena, the Deutsche Energie-Agentur, and that is Andreas Kuhlman. So let's hear about it from their point of view. Andreas.
Hello. So hello everybody. It's a great conference, I must say. Thank you for having me here. Great setting and great moderator. Well, my job is to talk a bit about infrastructure and storage, whereas storage somehow is also part of the infrastructure as well. And I would just like to give you some little perspectives. I think as what we learned today already is, it's all about cooperation and holistic approaches. I mean, you focused on that as well, and I fully agree on this one. Well, I mean, to solve the conflict of objectives of the energy policy triangle, manifold integration is essential. So we certainly are having a very different kind of infrastructure in the near future. And I know we all are kind of bored when we look at this triangle, say, well, yeah, okay, that's true. I mean, we have to kind of find ways to calibrate everything. But I mean, there's something else, and we heard about this, all these dilemmas before today. We really have to save this planet. I mean, there's high pressure, lots of work, and we do have to do all these changes very quickly. So instead of, talking like years about what kind of angle of this triangle is the best or so, I think we really have to gain speed. And we need new infrastructures for electricity, for hydrogen, for carbon dioxide, for digitalization, and if I look at the whole transformation, for many other things as well. Traffic and all these things are also part of the infrastructure, so we really have to work on a variety of issues. Today we will certainly focus on, well, electricity and molecules, I would say, at the moment. Well, how dealing with these issues in times of uncertainty? I mean, to be honest, nobody of us knows how the world in 2040, 2045 will look like. But my experience as chief of German Energy Agency is that it all looks kind of impossible, but then, like every 5 years or so, something new is coming up. 7, 8 years ago, nobody was talking about hydrogen as a solution. Now we have 50 roadmaps from different countries. We have a super ambitious strategy in the European Union. We have IRA, China, and everything. Everybody's talking about hydrogen and so on. So that is my hope here. But we somehow have to make a plan. In Germany, for instance, we're running a project now with the German government, which is called Systementwicklungsstrategie, System Development Strategy. And that is, I mean, we have already plans, of course, how to develop the gas grids. We have, of course, plans how to develop electricity grids. But how can we combine it? How can we make a planning which is based on the same energy inputs, for instance? That is not the case. And in a country like Germany, of course, that is very important. It does matter whether the electrolyzers will be in the north or in the south. It does matter whether we have secured capacity in the north or in the south, or not enough, or all these things. So the idea is to get some ideas of how the future can look like and how this integrated energy infrastructure could work. And I think that is very important. You also have to take into account that you have to talk to people. It's about acceptance in a high-density country like Germany in general. So this is a very interesting plan, and I'm very much looking forward to the results. And some of the scenarios you will find on the upcoming pages, like this one, are based on this system development strategy. Because the idea is to have some scenarios, more electricity, more gas, more synthetic methane and all these things, and then to see how this future world could look like and what kind of infrastructure could be needed. So what we see here is, of course, in times like this, you have the risk of, on one hand, investing in all this infrastructure you will need, you might need, we don't know yet, and on the other hand, to get rid of some infrastructure we do not need any longer. Or can we probably use it? Can we use methane infrastructure for hydrogen infrastructure? Yes, we can, we must, but what kind of it? And here are some developments over the upcoming years until 2045 from two scenarios. One is rather based on electricity, one is rather based on hydrogen. And you see the dark blue is the hydrogen infrastructure we need compared to the light blue, which is like still the gas infrastructure. It kind of looks the same. But between 2040 and 2045, well, something is happening. And this is just one another problem, of course. I mean, we are doing all our plans, but how it really works, we will only see if we get started. Hydrogen storage will be needed as early as 2030. Yes, I mean, we already need now the knowledge of what kind of infrastructure we will have, what kind of storage we will have, because nobody is going to invest in projects if he's not sure about the infrastructure which is available. And on that graph, you see, well, what kind of storage we would probably need for hydrogen over the time, over the hours in the year. And you see, it depends very much on the scenario, what kind of amount of electricity we have, what kind of hydrogen. And the frightening thing is, it's kind of all above 60, almost, 60 terawatt hours in a specific hour. But in Germany, we only have 35 to 50 terawatt hours of storage at the moment, and we still have to work on this. So that's another challenge you can see if you look at scenarios. Renewable energy is crucial for the success of the European energy transition, so we are building up renewable energy as much as we can. Probably not as fast as we should, but as much as we can. And that is, of course, having great influence on the market, on the way we can balance all these electricity things. We have lots of experiences in the European Union of how to do that, but still we know the challenges. And if we are not good enough in the infrastructure, that of course influences the market system. And that of course influences those who invest in those projects. And that is why it is so important to really take care here. We have interesting discussions coming up when it comes to market zones in Germany, for instance, when we have to manage all these border coupling stations for electricity. We are used to it much better than for gas, I would say. So maybe we can learn from this for other things as well. My time is already over. This was very quick, but I will hurry up. It's not much. Well, you mentioned our joint study, and I must say I cannot go into details. We have 4 working groups, and it's based on political discussions, which is very important. The ministers met, and we both have the job, kind of our teams, to moderate this. And I think that is very important, and I want to just raise a few sentences here. On one hand, we know that we need European cooperation. Yes, but hey, that can take ages. So what we really also need as well is bilateral cooperations. And I think this is a very interesting project because it shows us how complicated it is, but how we can manage all the different steps. And if you look at all these little lines over here, these are, well, that's a perspective of how a hydrogen net could look like in the future from the gas distributors and so on. Every little thing over there is a project like we are doing, almost. So there's lots of negotiations, lots of talks, and we have to really speed up because, again, I know so many people who would like to invest in production of hydrogen. Well, you're doing that as well with your colleagues and teams. But if we do not have the certainty of what kind of infrastructure is when available, also to what costs, then we will certainly lose time. And in Germany, unfortunately, we have some funny discussions about ownership. Should it be a state grid or should it be more private and so on? And I'm always telling them, please just get started and think about those issues later on. Well, all parts of transformation face uncertainties. That's my last slide. Integration and cooperation is vital. So thanks again for having me. Thanks for all the good contacts we already have between Norway and Germany, good experiences in the past, and I think there's lots of trust for working on the future. That's why I'm here, and I'm happy to discuss with you all these things later on. Thank you very much.